modems that the park did through the Charter Business Group. That doesn't feel like a pretty fast modem, then we've got a problem, right? And it's a problem that we have to look at, and unfortunately, when you have to look at those things, you have to look at them one by one. Each modem that you are having an issue with needs to be looked at, and the cabling needs to be looked at, the connection, how the modem's set up, all those things have to be looked at individually, right? But a 60x4 modem at your home shouldn't feel slow. It shouldn't take a long time to load pages. You should be able to do video and things over it. You know, that modem should handle that stuff, and if it's not, then we have an issue that we're going to have to deal with.
So just to revise this gentleman's question, I'm right here. I sat down, I was tired. He lives over in the condos.
Yeah.
They don't get 60 meg service.
Okay.
They want 60 meg service. Can you make that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
For the same price.
Sure.
Okay, they're year round now. Not a problem?
Should be.
Can you make it cheaper?
Don't know.
Can you bundle it with phone? Sorry, Tom.
It's okay.
I've got a question. Now that Sandy Pines is basically taking over the show, when our TVs stop working or our internet stops working, who are we going to call and who's going to come out and diagnose our problem?
That is a great question, and I think, and you know, these guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way that that's set up right now is that initial calls go into Sandy Pines? No? Okay. The issue that we have with you guys all calling Charter directly is really about how the account is set up and how we would identify where you are to send a truck, right? Our billing system doesn't really have the capabilities to do all of that information on the business side, right? We can sort of do it, but it doesn't do it very well. And it is something that we are absolutely working on. You guys, you know, last time I checked, there's not a help desk here, right? IT help desk? No such thing, right? So that's something that we're going to have to help fill the gap on. And again,
Have the equipment to plug in and check the signal.
Sandy Pines having a help desk person? I'm not sure about that.
That when Charter shows up, they've got
a signal tester,
equipment
yeah.
that they plug into the coaxial at the point and check to see if there's a signal. Can you find somebody have that equipment right there that do that same thing?
Not that I know of.
They don't
So
today.
then how would they even know if we have a signal out?
So I think the way that we discussed this sort of happening, and again, this was this past season, right? Not in front of the shadow, by the way.
You know, there was quite a few comments on Facebook about you not doing
About
that.
where to go. I think the idea was to have Sandy Pines help sort of filter some of the issues and see if they can help troubleshoot a little bit up front, right? A little bit.
Oh, I was just...
No, you weren't. You were being that guy again. But if, you know, again, this is a process, and I guess that's probably one of the most important things I want you guys to understand is that this is a process, and part of that process is me being here tonight, okay? You can, just let me know. Okay. That process involves, you know, some decisions were made, some solutions were put in place. You try and take as many people's wants and needs into consideration as you can. And then you take feedback and listen. And then you try and make it better, right? And that's, I mean, I don't know if I can give a better answer than the reason I'm here tonight is to see what we can do to try and make this better.
So, this gentleman has the answer.
I had a problem with my internet. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I had problem with my internet, and I went down and saw Mary. And Mary handed me a sheet of paper, and on that sheet of paper is an 800 number that you call Charter. And on the bottom, she had explained that what you have to say to tell them that it is a commercial account, and what you have to give them is the address, and they will come out and take care of the problem. They will check your modem to make sure that it's working. If it's not working, then they'll send somebody out. Now, that's one thing that I did find out when I was down talking to Mary about the problem I was having. And I haven't tried it because I ended up fixing it myself. But that's a way to take care of that problem. And Mary has those sheets. All you have to do is stop down to the office and ask her, tell her that you're having a problem and you need some way to get a hold of Charter to get that problem straightened out.
Will that be the same next year?
They just said to call them and explain what, they tell you what to say so that they can find you and they know where you are. And then they will, if the modem is working all right, they'll send somebody out. But they can check that modem right from there to make sure that it is working. We thought it might have been the modem, but it ended up not being.
And that's Charter checking the modem?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Your question was?
My understanding, I might fully misunderstand, my understanding was Charter was kind of taken out of it to where they're not going to, say, go in and look at your modem and say, yes, you have a signal.
Yeah, I would say that really Charter is the only one who could do that, right? I mean, I don't see how. So if the answer you guys are getting when you're calling in is that we don't support that location. Well, again, I think that this is an area that we need to improve our communication on, right? If we can make it easier for you guys to let us know there's issues and let us know where those issues are so that we can get the right people engaged, I think that's what we should be trying to have in place by next season.
I'm just thinking ahead for you.
Yep.
That's what I see.
Excuse me. The way it worked today is our TV was out. I called Mary, and she had to email Andy
Okay,
to get an answer.
okay,
He never called me, he never emailed back.
okay,
And finally, the TV came back, and she said it was because they did the digital conversion to fiber.
there was.
Conversion
Speaking
today.
specifically about today, there was issues around the state today with television service, where the picture was pixelated.
Right.
There was issues across the state on Charter's TV network today, right? Was it yesterday too? Okay. So, those are things that Charter takes pretty seriously, right? The fact that we have outages that impact essentially all of our customers, right? So all I can tell you is that, we're going to try and have there be a lot less of those. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish by upgrading our network is to have there be less of those. I am super concerned about the fact that you had to call Mary and Mary had to call a local tech, right? Because those guys, you've seen them, right? They're running all over the place, right? They're not always in cell phone range. It's just not a very efficient way for us to resolve your issues, right? But I will also say that if you have, and I know that there's been instances over the past 6 months where people have called into our customer care center and sat on hold for 45 minutes, right? Not acceptable either, right? So if we're telling you to do one thing and it's not working, or you're having to wait an hour to get an answer or to talk to somebody, that's a problem.
3 hours.
Yeah, that's unbelievably bad.
Yeah, John just handed me the microphone, which may not be a good thing, but I just heard conflicting information.
Okay?
We were told a little while ago to call the office
Yeah,
with any charter issue.
okay.
Now, this young man over here says you go right up to Mary and she gives you an 800 number to call. Which are we supposed to do?
So I believe that the better answer is for you guys to be calling the 800 number.
I would agree.
I also believe that there are issues with the level of service that you guys have been getting through that 800 number. And it's not you guys alone, right? This whole digital conversion has created a tsunami of issues that our people are trying to deal with, right? And I think that as we get through these things, Michigan was finished 2 weeks ago, right? I think that we will begin to have better responses, right? We have scaled up our care center personnel, but it was done very late in the all-digital process, right? I think the right answer is for you guys to call the 800 number. Now, a really important part of that, though, is if you're calling the 800 number and either you're waiting on hold for an hour, or they don't know how to find you, or the issues aren't getting resolved, those are things that should be escalated up through to me, really, right? I mean, as far as improving the level of service that you guys are getting.
Right, that's why I'm asking the question, because I have called the 800 number
Yeah,
not too long ago,
yeah,
and they have no idea who Sandy Pines is. And if you try to tell them your site number, you better know what it really is, because mine is K20
yeah,
0520 in your system.
okay.
That's a problem.
And that's not your actual,
That's how Charter identifies
Gotcha.
me,
Okay.
my site, as 0520, not K20.
okay.
If I didn't know that, I could have gotten any help.
There's no way to complete that transaction with
That's correct.
bad information.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay.
Email out that 800 number?
I think that if that hasn't been done, it absolutely should be done, right? As far as everybody knowing what that number is.
I'm sorry, I was actually talking to somebody.
That's okay, we weren't talking to you. Oh, yeah?
So, something mean at Tom.
I just think if you have the correct information, Mary also helped me, and the people who answered the phone, when I gave the correct information to them, I got to the business end of the company and gave them the correct information. She asked me questions back. They were able to look at my internet and tell me that I was offline, and I told her I had reset it and I had unplugged it and so forth, and she said, that's fine, we will send someone out then. And she gave me a choice of times. But when we can identify, and probably that sheet of paper should get to every member, when you identify yourself correctly, those people did know what Sandy Pines was, or that we were a business account and how to handle it.
Okay, and that's great to hear, right? And I think you're right. I mean, if we can get everybody essentially doing the same thing, hopefully Charter continues to improve on how we deliver service for you guys.
I am fairly new to Sandy Pines, and when I went to get my internet, the main thing that everyone has to remember is that this is Sandy Pines' account. It's not your account. So when you go there and you call them, the 1-800 number, and they say to you, this is the information we need, what is your account number? And you give them a lot number or you give them a site number, it's not correct. You have to have the proper information in order to call them. Once you have that, it's a piece of cake. Now, I am new here, and there's a lot, I hear a lot that's going on, and I think that a lot of the problem is that when you call Sandy Pine, or when you call Charter, you don't have the right information to give them. If you have that information, like I did, and I was new, just in July 1st, it only took me a matter of 3 days to have everything done. And Mary and Rita and Becky, they had all the information that I needed. And all you have to do, their account is what is important. That number, if you give them Sandy Pine's phone number and Sandy Pine's account number, and then you tell them, by that time they know who you are. And they've got everything under control and they know what they're doing then. And I mean, I'm a little confused as to some of the things that are going on because I don't know yet, because I'm new. But if you have that information, you can get through and you will get action.
That should be emailed to everybody.
These instructions and the phone number are also available either at the admin office or at the ranger station. And I believe they were at each of the CCs as well. on the bulletin boards. CCs, you'd have to copy it down, but there are copies you can take with you at the ranger station and at the admin station. It's the 800 number that's on it and the instructions. So when you say site number, that's the account number is our phone number, is that not right?
Yes.
Again, it's on these instructions.
Usually the main identifier would be the phone number. And the account number is different, and it can also be used as the identifier, but usually that main phone number, anyone who you talk to in charter.
Just do like these other folks have done, go grab one of those papers, and it should pick. We're gonna close this thing down, but I see there's quite a few people already gone, but I just wanna give you one I think is a good news thing. Number one, last year, on the face-to-face meetings, they were saying we need better internet. The seasonal Wi-Fi is not good enough because we can't get it in certain phases. We can only get it in certain areas, and they're exactly right. In phase 2 and phase 3, there's too many trees, too much undulation. So the tech committee was challenged with finding a way to get internet service that's equitable through the whole park, and that's where the negotiations went with Charter, and that's why we now have the ability to have that internet in here. The seasonal Wi-Fi, we know there's issues with that, and it's priced accordingly, but it's really only meant to take emails, and evidently it's not doing that very well either. But that said, the second thing that people asked me about was cell phone coverage. So we had, that's the second thing that the tech committee is focusing on. And I'll be the, I'm glad to tell you that tonight, after some contacts through the tech committee, next week, the week after next, I'm trying to set up a meeting with a company that is interested in bringing in a tower. If he's going to take a look at the park and an area that they think that it could go, their requirements aren't that high as far as space is concerned. They only need 1,000 square feet. Then, if we come to terms, which I certainly hope we can, then he will go out and sell tower space to the providers. So if it gets that, we'll keep you in tune with what's going on there. But gee whiz, I hope that by next spring we'll have some better cell coverage. The option to that is an option that the tech committee is working on through internet. So one way or the other, we're going to get this cell phone going. So.
Yeah, we're trying. And if anybody's heard me speak before, the cell phone is definitely one of the most important things that we can do here at Sandy Pines, whether that's through our own fiber or through a tower. That brings quite a few things that we can do out here, including if we decide to kill out the wireless internet offering that they have, if the signal is good enough to run data plans on your phone, type of thing. So, I mean, there's a lot inside that cell tower that we're really hoping for. Not to mention it's security, right? You fall, trying to find a ranger or somebody that has cell signal or whatever. So I look at it as a safety issue, and not that would be awesome, but I don't know if the members would hate us at the end of that.
All right, it's like 1 minute to
yeah.
And I want to thank John for all the work he's done, volunteer work he's done here. All right. The guy has been here. He will be in a meeting, and I'll email him and ask him if he can check this out. And then 45 minutes later, he's here from Holland. So he's been a tremendous resource for us. Thank you, Tom, for coming down from Nebraska. You stood tall. I guess a lot of good questions and tough questions. So thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here for 2 hours and not even standing up to stretch. So
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Sandy Pines wants hot tubs. Woo!